channel. This is Choma Stitches and my name is Choma. Today we're going to be making a two-piece, a 3-layered circle skirt and a shirt top, and I'm using this beautiful fabric to achieve it, and a matching thread to go. You need a matching zipper as well. The zipper is going to be for the skirt part. Now when you want to fold your fabric, you need to know the measurement of your waistline and how to get to your waistline. I'm going to put the calculation on the screen here so you know how you can get your waistline. Okay, so my waist is 28 inches. Now to get my perfect waist measurement, you have to use 4 inches to get your circle. Okay, 4 inches round will give you a perfect 28, waist 28. I'll be needing 2 inches extra for the zip allowance at the back, so I'm going to be making it like 4.3 inches. So I'm going to be using 4.3 inches round to get my 28 inches and then 2 inches for the zipper. Okay, I want my skirt to be as long as 20 inches. Okay, the 18 inches is going to be the circle part, and then 2 inches is going to be the band. So I'm going to remove the 2 inches for band as I'm calculating the length. Okay, so I'm going to be assuming the length now is only 18 inches. Since the 2 inches on top that's making it 20, it's going to be for the band. Okay, so I need 18 inches for the length, 1 inch for hemming and joining, and then I need 4.3 inches for the waistline. Okay, to cover out the waistline. So the total of the length I am going to work out is 23.3 inches. So let's just make 23.5 inches. Okay, so I'm going to fold my pattern into 4. First you fold it like so, and then you go ahead and fold it again to get the length you want. So I'm just going to first of all measure the 23. I'm going to measure 23.3 inches first. So this is 23.5 inches here. So I'm going to fold this first and then fold it again. So I'm going to mark my 4.3 inches all around. So from here, I can now measure the 23.3 inches. So I have my circle. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out this. First I'm going to cut out the waistline. And then I'm cutting out my circle. So I'm going to be opening one side for my zipper. So this is the circle. Now I'm going to cut out the other layer, and the other layer is going to be way shorter than this. I am going to be making the second one to be about 14 inches. Okay, I want it to be obvious, the difference to be obvious. So I'm going to be making it 14 inches when I'm cutting the second layer. And then for the third layer, I'm going to be making it 9 inches. So 9 inches plus the 4.5 inches we're using for the waistline, we have 13.5 inches. So this is the 3 layers complete. So we're going to go ahead and cut out the band, and then let's cut out the shirts for the dress. So now the back part of this shirt is going to be 14 inches long. I'm going to be adding 1 inch for the hemming and maybe half an inch for the shoulder slanting. So that will be 15.5 inches. Next, I am going to be measuring my shoulder. My shoulder is 7.5 inches. 1 inch for shoulder slanting. And then from there, I'm going to come down by 7.3 inches for my armhole. So I can just use 7.5 because it's going to be a shirt, not so tight. Connect this. Come up by half of the measurement, that's 3.5 or 3.8. Come in by half of an inch, and then connect it to the shoulder slanting. For the neckline, I'm going to be using 2.8 inches. And because this is the back, I'm using half of an inch for the back neckline. So I'm just going to pin this down. My waist measurement is 28 inches, that will be 7 inches. And I'm going to be adding 1 inch for the sewing allowance, or 1.5 inch, just to keep it a bit free. My bust is 35 inches, divided by 4 is going to be 8.75. I'll add 1.5 inch for the zip sewing allowance, and I'm going to connect it like so. Using my curved ruler, I'll be curving the armhole. And then I'm going to use my straight ruler to connect the shoulder to the neckline. So I'm going to cut this out. Now to cut this out, I'm going to be adding 1/2 inch around the shoulder for joining the shoulder, okay? So I have the back piece. And then I'm going to be using what I have here for my band. My waist is 28 inches. Divided by 2 is 14, plus 1 inch for zip is going to be 15. So what I have is about 6 inches. So instead of 5 inches to give us waist 2 inches on fold, I'm going to be having waist 2.5 inches. So I don't mind. The higher the waistline, the better. I don't mind. I'm going to go ahead and use it like that. So when you fold it in like so, it's enough for the waist. Also, to keep this waistline firm, okay, so it doesn't keep folding in, I'm going to be ironing stay on it. Here I'm going to be ironing this stay on the band completely all the way to the end. So let's cut out the front piece of the shirt. Okay, so I'm going to make it very, very long. And the reason why it's going to be so, the length is going to be long, is because it's going to have a long rope, okay? I'm going to place this like so. I'm using the back piece as a guide to get the front piece, okay? So this is the back piece, and I have moved it out by 2.5 inches. I'm going to be hemming this place 1 inch folded twice, and then we'll have 1/2 inch that's going to be overlapping each other for the buttonhole and for the button sitting. The front is going to be having a dart, and the dart is going to be around the bust area, okay? And the dart is going to be 3 inches. So instead of having the full length for this one to be only 14 inches, I'm going to be adding 3 inches for the front. The front is going to be 3 inches longer than the back. So from here I'm going to start curving it to get the long rope. So you can curve this all the way long to whatever length you want. So for the dart we're taking out, since the dart is 3 inches, we're going to come here and measure from the shoulder to the bust point. And this is 10 inches, okay? The bust point is 10 inches. So from there I'm going to come down by 3 inches, which is the length difference between the front and the back, okay? This 3 inches is going to be our dart. Next, I'm also going to indicate where my allowance starts from, okay? The allowance starts from 1.5, so I'm going to mark the 1.5 here. Here you're going to mark 1.5 as well. So you can just retrace the back piece on top of the back here. So this is the actual measurement, and this is the 3 inches. This is the bust line, okay? This is the 3 inches dart. So I'm going to be using my marker. This is the 2.5 inches for the shirts, buttons and button sitting. And I'm going to mark from here. I'm going to come into my bust point 4 inches, and from that 4 inches I'll go out again by 1 inch. This is where I'm going to take out the dart, and then I'm going to rule this. I'm going to rule this from there to this point. So I'm going to be taking out this whole 3 inches. Okay, so this is going to be the middle. So I hope you can see this clearly. So this is the bust line. This is the 3 inches for the dart. Now if you are taking this 3 inches from the allowance, it will diminish the 3 inches when it gets to your actual measurement. That is why I took out the 1.5 inch sewing allowance first, and then from that place you can now measure your 3 inches to get the actual 3 inches you're taking out for the dart. Now from here you can now just mark straight out for your dart, okay? Now you have a complete length. So I'm going to be taking out these 3 inches for the bust, around the bust, to give it that feminine look for the shirt, okay? Now you already know that this is the full measurement of the dress to this place, but you are going to include the space for the dart. Now my marker is not very clear. I like to draft on paper. It gives you clearer view. So from here you can now find the middle of this this place from the allowance. I have 4 inches. This is 2 inches the middle, and I'm going to create a triangle here. This triangle is to help me guide me when I'm taking out the dart, and also to avoid taking out the part you shouldn't take out. Okay, so I'm going to cut in this part. So from the dart, from the bust area, I am going to go towards that triangle, and then I'm going to come in again. Now before I cut out the length of the rope that's going to be the extension of the top that is going to be a rope for the dress, let's cut out the neckline. So now for the width I use 2.8 inches, but for the depth for the front, I'm going to come down to about 3 inches, and this 3 inches is going to start from here. Then I will use my curved ruler. You can use your hand to curve it out actually, but I'm going to be using the curved ruler to curve it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. And then you can now move all this one all the way down to cut out the excess of the length. For this excess for the length, you can go as long as you want. Okay, I'm just going to exhaust what I have here. So this is the front, this is the back piece, this is the front. The front is longer by 3 inches, and we'll be taking another 3 inches as a dart. I'm going to be hemming here with 1 inch folded twice. Hem this one and hem this side, and then I'll take out the darts. Then we can now join the shoulders and join the sides. And for the neckline is going to be a bishop neckline. Okay, I'm just going to be folding it once. It's not going to be a serious collar, it's just going to be a bishop neckline collar. Okay, because this is going to be a fun top. I don't want it to look too serious like a shirt. I'm going to be using the pieces that is left to cut out my sleeve. So this is my sleeve pattern. The tutorial on how I cut it out is on this channel, and it has half an inch sewing allowance added to it. I'm going to be adding extra 1 inch because I need 1.5 inch sewing allowance, so that the 1.5 inch will align with the 1.5 inch I added to the shirt. Okay, so I'm going to place this like so and use it to trace out the sleeve. So I don't want it to be long, I'm going to just use this length. So I'm folding my pattern like this so I can use this place as the length. Okay, so I've added the 1 inch here. I'm going to cut it out. So this is the sleeve. I'm going to be leaving the link on how I drafted this sleeve in the description box, so you can check it out if you are not sure of how to draft a basic sleeve. I'm going to use this one to cut out the next one. Alright, so this is the sleeve. I've gone ahead to hem this. I've hemmed the sleeve, both of them. So I'm just going to set them aside. I have ironed out the stay on the band. As you can see, I've ironed the stay on the band and folded it in half just the way I wanted. I'm going to set it aside as well. Now it's time to take out the darts, and this is the front piece of the shirt. I've hemmed the middle. This is the part that's going to have the buttonholes and the buttonhole sitting. Okay, so I've hemmed it, as you can see, all the way to the end, leaving this side. Okay, as I approach towards the end, I had to reduce the allowance I used for the hemming. This is so I can have some allowance as well I will use to hem this side. Okay, because you have to also hem this other direction to keep it all neat. Okay, so I'm going to hem here as well all the way to the end. Okay, and then it's time to take out the darts. So I've already marked out the line for the darts, so I'm just going to follow the line. I'm just going to follow the line to fold it. Now our dart is supposed to be 3 inches, so I'm going to be matching it, this point to this point, so we have 1.5 inch on both sides. Look at the darts. I've taken out the dart, and this is how the dart effect is. So when you look at it, you see the effect of the dart on the bust area. Okay, so now that I've done this, I'm just going to place the back piece on it, and I'll join the shoulder lines. This is what we have. Next, I am going to sew the sleeves. So I've sewn the sleeve on this side. I'm going to attach the second sleeve. I've sewn both sleeves. So next I'm going to be sewing the sides. So I'm going to start from the sleeve and sew to the end, and I'm going to move the dart downwards. So since I have 1.5 inch sewing allowance, I'm going to be sewing with only 1 inch. The 1/2 inch will be for ease. So I'm going to sew the other side too. So I've sewn both sides of the dress. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to measure the neckline and use whatever measurement I have to cut out a long straight strip that we're going to be using for the bishop neckline. And then I'm going to go ahead and hem the end. Okay, I'm going to hem it starting from this end all the way to the back piece and then to the end of the side. Now for the skirt part, I'm going to start placing them layer by layer. So I'm just going to open this up like so, place the second layer on it, that's the middle one, and then take the last one, that's the shorter part, the top layer, and I'm going to place it like this. So what I'm going to do now is sew the band. I've sewn the layers of the skirt. So what I'm going to do now is to join the sides, and to do that I'm just going to measure out where my zip is going to start, somewhere around here. So this is where my zip is going to start. So I'm going to put this together. So I'm going to hold this down, and I'm going to take the top layer, that's the shortest one. So I'm going to take the top layer, the shortest one, that's from here, and I'm going to hold it down. So I'm going to sew with 1 inch. So I've sewn it. I'm going to come down. I'm going to measure it down, and I'm going to mark 1 inch. Now where I mark this 1 inch, I'm going to take my scissors and I'll cut it and stop very close to the seam. Okay, now this one that is remaining, I'm just going to reduce it by half an inch. All right, then I'll take the next layer, that's the middle layer, and I'm going to hold it down exactly where this one started, here. Now I'm going to start sewing it again exactly on that same place where this one started. I'm going to just go ahead and hold it together from there. So this is where this starts. You can mark it so that you will know where you're following. So I'm going to start from there, and I'm going to sew with 1 inch again. From there, 1 inch, and I will sew it to that place where I made my cut. Okay, now when you get to the place where you made the cut, you are going to fold in this first one, fold it in so that you continue sewing only the middle layer from there. I'm going to come back here where I made this cut, and I'm going to cut another one, that same place. I'm going to cut the second one very close to the seam, and then I'm going to cut the excess as well, reduce it by 1/2 inch. Okay, now I'm going to repeat the same thing with the third layer. So I'm going to place them together, place them all together like so. You also, if you touch it, you will feel where the 1 inch started, the 1 inch sewing started. So I'm going to start sewing there again. I'm just going to pin it together. So I'm going to just mark it from where this one started, and I'm going to start sewing from that same place again, that very same position. Okay, now the same way I did the first one, I am going to sew it and get to the part where I made my cut. Get there just like I did the first one. I'm going to move this part inside, and then I'll continue sewing only the third layer. This method, let me take out my pin. This is what you have. Now all of them have a particular joining, so when you are weaving your inner, you just go ahead and weave like this. And let me turn it inside out to show us what this looks like from the right side. This method I have used to attach it will give you different layers even at the back, at the zip joining. Okay, so look at this. You have this layer. Look at the joining where it starts, the top layer, the middle layer, and the last layer. So you can also weave these places to keep it neat. Okay, but this is the method on how you achieve multiple layers. Now you can also use this method if you want to make yours like 10 layers or 20 layers, and you want each of the layers to stand on its own. At the end of the day, this is how you attach it. Okay, so you have learned something new today. Don't forget to like this video, share, and subscribe if you have not subscribed. So I'm going to go ahead and sew the zipper for the skirt, and then I'll finish up the top by adding buttons and buttonhole, and then I will style it and show us how it looks. If at this point guys you are yet to subscribe to this channel, what are you waiting for? Please go ahead and subscribe, and you can also share this video to help this community grow. I would appreciate that. And I also like to hear from you. If you have questions, drop it in the comment section. If you have any requests or whatever, drop it in the comment section. I'll get to them. See you guys in my next sewing tutorial. Bye bye. Also this end, I am going to, you can go ahead and hem this end to keep it clean, or you can use a baby lock machine to overlock it to give it another kind of finishing. Okay guys, so here I've put my buttons, as you can see, and I've fixed the buttonholes, and here is the inside. I've given it a neat finishing and ironed it. This is the skirt part. I've fixed the zip, and this is the baby lock I'm talking about. Okay, you have your sewing machine that does this. You can use it to overlock it instead of having to hem it. I usually prefer to do this. See you guys in my next sewing tutorial. Bye.